Welcome to the Kaur Show. I'm Ranjeet Kaur from the UK. And here with me is my co-host, Gurinder Kaur from Melbourne. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Benji, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, doing well as well. Thank you.
Yes. You're managing well in the lockdown?
Yes.
Yeah. So today's topic is about psychology of eating. And our guest today is Ravneet Kaur from the UK, who is a precision nutrition coach for busy people, helping them reach their nutrition and athletic goals. Ravneet especially empowers individuals to change their food behaviors. So this is such a popular topic before it's even started, especially with the feedback and questions that has been flowing in the last few days. So let's welcome our guest to the show, Ravneet Kaur. Hello, Ravneet. You're on mute.
Ravneet, you're on mute.
Right, so morning and good evening. Can I just really quickly say thank you to you both for having me on. I'm really, really grateful. And thank you to anybody that's watching. Thanks for joining us today.
No, that's great. Thanks so much for coming on our show. And how are you today?
I am really good. I'm really sorry. I am grizzly. So if I have my Barney a little bit through the conversation, I am so happy. It's sunny outside and there's nothing that I shouldn't be grateful for today, especially being here with you guys.
No, the weather today is great.
It is.
So, Ravneet, a lot of people want to know about you. So tell us and the audience a little about yourself and what do you do with your business, Neat Nutrition as well?
So I am mummy to 2 boys. I am married for 13 years. I get it wrong because I've been with my partner from my early 20s. We're quite a traditional family, although I don't know, people would assume that when they watch my Instagram. So I live next door to my mother-in-law. We have quite an extended family environment. I grew up in an equally huge family. My dad was one of 8. So for me, I think people find it surprising when I talk to them that I always go back to childhood and how we eat through childhood. I'm outwardly very slim. I was talking to my friends last night about like being skinny fat. So I don't know, like people assume that as a nutritionist, I'm only advising people who are larger. And I don't like the terms because I feel we have to be really sensitive. So I'd love to hear if people who don't fit the big category share if they also sometimes struggle with their weight. So it's really coming out. Irrespective of my size, I had real issues after having children, and like hands up to all the mums, hands up if you've had a baby and you just think, what has happened to my body? Who am I? So I've been through everything that I help women with, which is the binge eating, the cravings, shame and the guilt. What do I do? Equally, like I'd love to hear people's views. Do you find there's so much conflicting information that you just don't know which way to turn? So where I come in is I help you with the psychology, the emotions. I give people a completely judgment-free space to explore what's happening with you. And I think you both will agree, we're mums. When do you ever give yourself 1 hour a week to just take stock and talk about something like food? Ever? Actually,
awesome.
Yeah, actually we do, don't we? As women, we
Yes.
get together. Nikani cheese. Are you going to have that? Oh, I'm trying this diet today. We do talk about it a lot. But less the emotional impact that it has on us when we're walking around on a day-to-day.
Yep. Thanks, Ravneet. So definitely, I think in South Asian community, especially if we talk about Indian and then in Punjabi community, I think the first thing we notice is whenever we meet someone after a long time, we'll say, "Oh, tu moti ho gayi hai, oh, tu patli ho gayi hai." I think the first thing we note is the weight.
Yeah.
That's that's a human psychology. That's the first thing we come around. And I saw your pictures on Facebook, and it was a tremendous change from your pregnancy and up to
Yeah.
where you are now. So that's a great change. So talking about psychology of eating, isn't should be like a simple, like whenever someone feels hungry and then eating rather than going around and food and then eating. So what are the factors which actually impact psychologically towards our eating habits?
Oh, it's my favorite thing. I'm such a geek. So people have forgotten how to use their physical hunger cues. Our physical hunger is being overridden by our psychological hunger. And there's a multitude of factors that are affecting us for this. So physiologically, we are still using the brain that we had 200,000 plus years ago. That's before we had the pantry, the microwave, the oven, the fridge. So our mind in this new, world is still walking around looking for food, reproduction, and water. Basic human needs. And then what happens? We desire the sugar, salt, and fat. As babies, some of our first meal was being having our mum's milk, or it was some kind of milky formula. So what do we have in our first meal? Creamy, fat, sugar, and salt. It's like the perfect combination. So psychologically, we are drawn to these foods. And when we are in the presence of them in our cupboards, we're constantly thinking, like, when am I going to have that? Oh, I really want that. The other aspect of our human psychology is we want the thing that's going to give us the quickest reward. We are literally looking for immediate reward, immediate pleasure. That's just the way that our human psychology is, because our ancestors, the cavemen, were foraging for food. So if they got it, they were going to eat it. And they were looking at potentially being attacked, or, another tribe attacking them. So we have to take ourselves out of the modern world and put ourselves into the mindset of how we as human beings were created. So now for us, the food industry has really taken advantage of our psychological, they're not weaknesses, but they can feel that way. They will promote foods to you. They will produce foods, and they will make them in a lab so that they are hyper palatable. So what we typically crave, the sugar, salt, and fat, the crisps, the sweets, the packets are colorful. So they've copied the fruit colors for candy wrappings, and they're easy. So shall we go make atta and roti, or shall we grab that packet of crisps while we're waiting for the takeaway? The other added dimension here is that you and I, when we make a decision to have something, what we think is naughty or, like bad food, the hormones start releasing immediately. So we've got serotonin and dopamine. They're produced in your gut. So we're sitting around, all us Benjis are having a good time, like, Aaj ki khaiye, what shall we eat tonight? And as soon as we start having that conversation, there's a little rebelliousness that rises in us. And I know that people watching will be familiar with this. And there's all this excitement when we think, okay, let's get pizza. Okay, so now the decision's made, and we automatically think we feel better and we feel good because of the food we've decided to order. But then what happens when we've eaten the pizza? We've allowed our mind to just be overridden by physical sensation of eating that pizza. And then later we're sitting there like, oh my God, I feel so rubbish. Why did I have 5 slices? I didn't need to eat that much. And what we don't do is we don't stop and think, how did that make me feel? Like, do I want to do that every week? But it becomes a habit that we do start doing that every week, because we're still craving that feeling, that serotonin, like, yeah, let's order the pizza. And then that high sugar, salt, and fat, that buzz that we get. So what I do is I help people look at food in a more objective and not in an emotional way. And we do that by really focusing on, how hungry am I in this moment? As you start practicing what we call the Hunger Games, we start realizing that we are walking around quite unconscious. So back to human psychology, you know, when you're sitting and you're eating sometimes, and we do this, we're eating like just looking around, because as humans, we've been the prey and then we've also been preyed on. And this means that we're eating almost in a way to avoid our food being taken away from us. And I'd be interested to see if anybody agrees, because we have distraction, we have the TV. So those are the three main things. Our brain is still as it was when we were designed and created as humans. We want sugar, salt, and fat. Our body craves it. And then the hormones release to encourage you to get those foods. And then marketing.
That's brilliant. I like how you've got a way of empowering people to change their food habits. Like it's like almost like a magic potion. Well, whether it work or not on me, it will be.
I have 100% success rate.
So, how do you find like weight management discussions throughout COVID? Like, have you found that it's been more within the situation that we're in the lockdown, or has it been because obviously everyone's available now at home and it's, you know, food's obviously there and it's so easy to nitpick?
This is the point around our psychology but tell me both if you agree, when our shopping arrives, we know the things that we're looking forward to eating. We know those items and we're just like, minute chance mil jaye, I'm going to eat those crisps on the sofa later. Soon as I have the kids to bed, I'm going to open, you know, the ice cream jar. And now we've got all these new products all the time. They're always available. So with the lockdown, a lot of people turn to comfort eating. And I think it's had a really bad reputation. But comfort eating is okay. It gets us through really difficult times. I hope we will not see another pandemic in our lifetimes like this. So I say to my clients, I say to my followers, if you've put on a few pounds, but it kept you going, there's nothing wrong with that. Anything that we do, we can undo. And the belief needs to come from within. So the more we engage in our spiritual relationships in ourselves, our spiritual journeys, I think the more we can align our bodies to come on that path with us. So I'd like to know how people have found their eating habits in lockdown. But what I really, really want to know is, have you been made to feel as if it's almost a bad thing if you have turned to food? And equally, how have you felt if your body has changed? Do you feel almost as if I've put on the weight, oh my God, what am I going to do? This is the worst thing. How am I going to reverse this? There doesn't seem to really be an end to lockdown. So do you think now you're trapped in this body? Because I want each of you to know we are such unique creations. God has created us in such a marvelous way that right now we are breathing without thinking about it. If you've had or you're about to have dinner, your body will digest it without you saying, hello, body, can you digest this food? And each of us are so unique and created so bespoke. Sometimes we just need to trust our bodies. So psychologically, we've been really hurt, confused, uncertain about the future. The pandemic has been one of the worst things, or one of the most difficult and challenging experiences that we've undergone in our lives. If you've leaned to comfort eating, surely that's not the worst thing. Anybody agree? Like, you've engaged in a period of activity where you've used food to comfort you, but now you see it, right? Most of us are seeing it. We're like, oh, COVID's really got us. And that's the number one key to change, is awareness. Anything we want to do in life, when we go from A to B, starts with awareness. So if you are in that position, I want to reassure you that now that you feel that you want to make a change, and it is something you've become aware of, you can, but really start slow. Less is more. I tell people, if you do one thing, which is chew your food slowly, in a year's time, you could have lost 54 pounds. That's pretty decent, right? Everybody agree? Just by chewing your food slowly, you don't have to change what you eat. You don't have to go on a diet. You don't have to go to a support group. You don't need to pay for an expensive program. You can just start making a habit of chew your food slowly. Reminders in your phone, put like a little tick box on the kind of wall. People, as humans, psychologically, we love a visual reward chart, a visual aid to help us keep on track with something. And then incentivize yourself. Set yourself a goal, but make sure you reward yourself, because what does the brain want? Immediate reward, immediate pleasure. So if the packet of crisp feels more rewarding, tastes good, and I can get stuck in the guilt of eating that, but it's easy and it's familiar, I will keep doing that if the opposite is not attractive. How many women or men are rewarding themselves for the good things that you're doing every day? How many people stop and reflect on what we do well? Not many of us. In our community, our parents, have gone through immigration. So we're taught to be really like, we're worker bees. We are like hardworking as a community. So how many of us stop at the end of the day and say, what did I do? So Binder's asked a really good question. How do we become mindful of chewing slowly, like we're always in a hurry? This is the thing we need to ask ourselves. Why are we in a hurry? Our life is a series of go, 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 go. And because we're in a hurry, do you know what we want? Weight loss now, badi gaddi now, badakar now. We want everything now, 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 because the psychology. So my biggest thing would be set yourself some reminders in your phone, even if it just says go slow. Yeah. And then if it keeps popping up when you sit down to your meal, look at the start time of your meal. So if you started your meal today, I think it's probably 7:18 in Australia. Say to yourself, how long am I going to spend in this meal? And say, I'm going to try and take 20 minutes to eat my meal. Use a smaller chamcha, like a spoon. Use a smaller bowl. Maybe even pour half a portion first, so that once you finish that first portion, you go back for a second portion. There's a number of clever ways that we can slow ourselves down. One of my best and most popular challenges, slow down challenge. 7 days, let's slow down. Are you ladies going to try it after?
I think that was an amazing tip. I'll definitely give it a try, like making myself conscious of, chewing the food slowly. I know I'm a very fast eater. Probably that's why I've got extra kilos.
It's so common.
Yes.
It's
and
so
even
common.
Yeah. And when you mentioned in the beginning, like it has a spiritual connection as well. And even in Gurbani, I know it does say like, like kavo puncho. So there is that word in Gurbani which actually means slowly chewing and, remembering
Yes.
Vaheguruji or God you remember. So it's all scientifically and, spiritually all connected, but we don't pay attention on that. We're not mindful.
And I think you raise a really good point, because why are we rushing? What are we rushing for? And I had to ask myself this. Oh, I've got an imposter. One moment. I'm so sorry.
This is great, Benji.
That was funny, but that was a wonderful tip.
Brilliant, actually. 20 minutes to eat your food. Dal chawal when it's in front of you. Do we ever think up a bee metal on Like, I don't think we do that.
I don't do at all. I'm really on a spot on that. So probably I would like to ask our audience as well, if you could share like how much roughly time do you take on average when you eat your food? Do you like take 5 minutes, or do you take 50 minutes, or something in between?
Or is it just dav, isn't it? Because in yani khana aa karna, ek karna, so we quickly just like, eat our food.
Yeah.
So
we've got nyane bache tugging on us.
Yeah.
Such a common thing. Yeah. So you were going to ask me, sorry, Benji, you were going to ask the question.
So we've got some questions from the audience, and it's from Akal Simran Gill. She's asked, which food is best to cure PCOD naturally for busy working moms? She's also put in there, please share the tips to balance hormones with natural food or herbs available in fridge and pantry.
So this is a really good question. I always say to people, the closer we can go towards a plant-based diet, the better our outcomes. So generally speaking, I want to be really clear. Your size doesn't always dictate your health. So you could be like I was, walking around really slim, and I had one of those fat monitored tests done before I got married, and they said to me, for somebody that's very small, you've got a high percentage of fat, so you can have what we call visceral fat, which is around the organs and inside your body, which isn't very obvious from the outside. So for me, it's really important to recognize your size is not always a determinant of your physical health. And equally, if you're skinny, it doesn't mean that you're healthy. If you're smaller, it doesn't mean that you're healthy. Essentially, though, we want to be fitter, we want to carry less fat because there are studies to suggest that it is better for our health. So PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, something that I was diagnosed with as a teenager. Equally, they do say that maintaining a healthy weight does make managing the symptoms easier. You especially want to avoid processed food. Anything with an ingredient to increase shelf life or an adaptation to the food. There's 3 types of food. You have whole food, the food that you can physically see with your eyes, the apple in its whole form. And then you have processed form where it's been changed. So that could be even freezing. A frozen pea is processed food. Anything that we chopped, frozen, but we use common sense, right? So it's processed because it's had to be kept versus processed, it's changed its natural form. Now it's been minced, chopped, squashed into a bar. And then you have ultra processed food, which is cereals, all the long life foods, cakes on the shelf. Those are the things you want to avoid. Hormones, you've got chemicals where they've been farmed and harvested before they're produced. And we were having an interesting conversation about soya. So for some people, soya doesn't sit well, particularly if you've got any hormone imbalance, because some soya products can become more hormone heavy. So soya milk, soya pieces. You've got alternatives to things like the nut milks or the oat milks and other products that you can use alternatively. And the problem we see in the vegetarian communities, because they're trying to make accessible, easy things for you to consume, they're modifying them a lot and they are adding a lot of things in. Also movement. And I don't say exercise like jaki punch, then top ke. That's not nice. It doesn't feel good. We don't enjoy it. It's stressful. I like what Benji did with the couch to 5K, something quite gentle, which you can ease into. I feel that for your mind is really important. So when we think about balancing our hormones, we've got to remember if we're rushing, we've got a lot of cortisol. This is the stress hormone. That's going to increase your cravings for things that are not going to be good for us. So we need to slow down and do things mindfully. So BART, meditation, these are things to bring us back to the now. And walking in nature. I say to people, if you want to put something on your headphones, it's a really great way to get out and do something. Sometimes we feel if we slow down, we're going to miss something. We're not going to be as good a parent. But sometimes that break is more important. So your hormones will be linked to your stress levels. It's about trying to manage those, eating, having a lot of colorful fruit and vegetable in your diet. And also because of the insulin response in PCOS, so polycystic ovaries, being mindful of the white products, breads, pastas, rice. I can share a link with Benji to put up later. There's a really good one, which is eat more, eat less. So there's no bad food, but it encourages you to eat more of sweet potato, wholemeal varieties, a variety of different oils. Don't be scared of fat. If you're trying to bring weight down, we've got some really wholesome fats in nuts, olive oils, some cheeses, depending if you're vegan or not. We've been really scared by marketing that we have to go low fat. But low fat is where people can then put high sugar. So with polycystic ovaries, it's the insulin response in our bodies. We want to keep our blood sugars stable. And so therefore not skipping meals for long periods of times, grazing. It sounds a lot harder than it is. I've got an information sheet that's going to come out soon, and actually I'll share it with you more as an exclusive for your viewers before I put it to my followers.
Thanks, Ravneet. I feel like we have to change a lot, like especially with the food, processed food that you were mentioning. That okay, we eat less of that. Probably eat not at all. Just starting with milk, especially. So we come from Punjab, and we have been like buying milk every single day. So it's fresh coming up over there. But here in these countries, we know it comes in cans, and that's the first thing that you buy every day, and that's a processed food in itself. So and a lot of other things, we're making our life easier by bringing processed food, frozen food. So there are so many things. I mean, because it's more quantity coming up, so every time you go for shopping, so how do we train ourselves what to buy, and where do we look for the information, what to avoid, all these things?
So the article I mentioned would be really good because it describes what you want to try and add more of without feeling So the way we work for human psychology and food behavior, we encourage people not to stop doing this, stop buying that, stop eating that. And then what we do is we add to your plate. So we say, why don't you try to do more of this? And slowly, the things that we don't want to do start falling off gently. In the article, it has a really easy infographic which shows you what to eat more of. And it's based in like the 3 columns: dairy, which is your fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. There's a question on intermittent fasting, and I'm definitely going to come back to that. So it's a really good topic. What I would encourage people to do, the information I'm sharing now, it's coming at you in a way like, oh my God, I've got to do so many things. I've got to cut this out, cut that out. Go slowly. First, start with changing the food behavior. Before we make changes to the physical diet, look at what the triggers are. Because tomorrow I can give you a list to do the shopping, but if something's triggering you, you will keep breaking, you'll keep binging. So try the slowing down in eating the food that you're eating, because naturally when we slow down, our food consumption goes down with us because we're slowing down, we're being mindful. And then you want to start thinking about what's on your plate. And the best thing is get enough of good enough. When we are hungry, it could be a sign for water. Our ancestors didn't have water bottles. This is a very recent creation. Pottery didn't always exist. So you couldn't walk around with Barney. In that situation, what we would do is eat water-based fruit and vegetables, lettuces, oranges. You imagine the juicy fruits and vegetables. And the body was getting the nutrients it needed. Now we go to the food before the Barney. And therefore the body's still saying, I'm hungry, but you're not. You're like, but I've just eaten something. Sometimes when we're missing key nutrients in our body, your body could be saying, I need vitamin C, Rav, what are you doing? And we're like, oh, I'll have another donut, I'll have a packet of crisps. And the body will just keep saying hungry, because it can't say to you, I need today water, vitamin C, vitamin D. Can you get me those foods, please? It doesn't. It just uses the one cue of hunger. So we need to be mindful of getting enough of good enough, but that doesn't mean giving things up. Just slow down. Everything you do, if you do it slower, you'll get a better result. What happens at New Year's Eve when everyone's making resolutions? What do we do for the first 2 weeks of New Year's? I'm not having no butter. I'm not chopping my roti no more. And people try and change 5 behaviors in one go. But we're humans, we're creatures of routine, like we can't do that. It becomes really unrewarding, unsatisfying, and it feels like a sazai, like a burden, feels like a horrible thing to do. So go slowly, and then you can start just increasing smaller little actions to give yourself a better health outcome. Are we ready for intermittent fasting?
Yes, let's talk about intermittent fasting on a daily basis. Someone's asking, is it helpful?
So one thing I always say to people, don't put yourself in the box of doing something like this. We're human. We're cyclical. We go like this, like that, like this. And as women, we have hormones which change. They peak and drop, peak and drop. I do a lot of work with my women around this and the empowerment through understanding our hormones in our bodies. What happens when you try to put yourself into an intermittent fasting window? It can work, but it doesn't address the hunger cues going on in here. So you can ignore your hunger cues in your tummy, but the psychological hunger cues can then start screaming at you and make it even more difficult. When I teach what we call intuitive eating, we eat when we're hungry and we understand our bodies better, so we stop when we're just before full. If an hour later we still feel hungry, we can eat a bit more if we want to. But naturally, what we've found is we tend to eat 2 meals a day. So we don't do it in a set window. If I wake up, I'll ask myself, am I actually hungry? So many of us are not hungry first thing in the morning. Our bodies have had a really good rest. It's the best time to really listen to your body, how you're feeling in your mind, if there's any physiological sensations, a headache, are there hunger pangs? Have a bit of Barney, have a maybe sit down, let it go. You would be surprised how much you can push past feelings of hunger. It's not going to be detrimental to you, but there's some medical conditions for which you wouldn't want to kind of muck about with your hunger. But actually people with diabetes or pre-diabetic find intermittent fasting really works. So then I might have something to eat at 11 or 12. Then it's lunchtime. I'm full, I'm good. I might not now eat until dinner time. So that's naturally 2 meals for me. The next day, depending how late I ate, I might actually want to have breakfast. You could end up having bigger gaps because you've had snacks and you might have a really late lunch and skip dinner. So my clients realize I don't always eat 3 meals, Rav. I'm like, it's fine. Due to industrialization, to be workers during daylight hours, we was taught to have breakfast, lunch, dinner. We're taught to have 3 square meals so that we can be a very good workforce. It doesn't mean it suits our bodies. It just means that now we've got a habit. Okay, sweerdavella, let's eat. How does your mum like have a time in the day, your mum and dad or your close family have a time of day that they just want their cha mati or something? It's because we are creatures of habit. Challenge yourselves this week. Am I just having my tea and biscuit at 3 o'clock because I'm used to it and it's routine and it's my done thing? Or do I really want it? Am I actually hungry? And do I even need 3 meals in a day? So what we become is natural intermittent fasters. We fast according to our body's needs. The other thing your body's really clever with, if you perpetually keep feeling it, sometimes it will just say, I feel sluggish, I don't want to eat anything. And then, you lose your najara to eat. You just kind of get a little bit, Sometimes we need a longer fast. So if you think about our ancestors before us, they would have been fasting. And it's okay to put the body through that. It's quite good sometimes to challenge our physical body because it's equally good for our minds. I think on the whole, intermittent fasting works because it draws your window down and it makes you consume less, which like you've mentioned and other people mentioned, the evenings can be a time where we binge. So for some people, it works well. For others, you end up thinking, I'm going to eat everything in this 6-hour window. I'm going to go have lunch, this. And then you can end up becoming like too full in those hours. And it only takes a few meals to give your body more than it needs. So then the fasting window is of no benefit to you. There was another question, I missed it. It went really.
Yep. So just before we move to the next question, I was going to ask, when we talk about psychology of eating, why does we always talk about losing weight?
This is what people would be surprised to hear. My program, when people come in, I say the focus is not the weight loss. The focus at the beginning is understanding your relationship with food, why we eat the way we eat, and empowering you to start looking at your body as part of you. We almost treat our bodies as if they're not us, and it's a future thing. When you're smaller, I'll love you. When you're smaller, I'll wear this clothes. When we're smaller, we'll be happy. So the first 4 weeks, I always say to people, please, this is a journey. Trust my journey. When you start loving yourself, you won't put more than you need in, and the weight will naturally come off, but it's a less is more approach. So often women may not see any results in the first 4 weeks. At week 8, it starts coming off because the focus isn't about the weight loss anymore. Sometimes when you focus so much on something, and I say to people, because I'm really spiritual, that God is not going to give you something that you're repeatedly asking for sometimes, because you have to trust. You have to trust. And we don't. We're really distrusting society. It better not rain tomorrow because I've got plans, or so-and-so better not say something to me today. I'm going to get gusse. We go around trying to control everything. And I say to people, stop trying to control the weight loss. When you learn to listen to yourself from within, and when you start to love your body and become more at peace, accept, you don't have to love it. You don't have to love that we wiggle. We all wiggle. You don't have to love it, but you have to accept this is the body. And, it's an amazing body. Do you know our skin? Everything is changing every day. We 3 women are not the same women we were last year. Our bones, our skin, everything is changing. But we don't stop to appreciate the miracle that is. So, yeah, it's not all about weight loss. Health at every size means healthy here first, and then the rest will follow.
Awesome. That was really great. I do have a lot of questions, but I'll just take audience questions now because of just cautious of the time. So we've got a question from Kamal here.
Yes.
And she's asking some tips for, so high level cholesterol levels.
So with cholesterol, always increase your fiber intake. You want both types. There's called insoluble and soluble. The reason we say to increase the fiber intake is because you want to be regular with your bowels, because in the fiber, it will carry out what we call the bad cholesterol in the bloodstream. It literally will carry it out through your stools. So fiber is in all the things you've heard, whole meal options for things, fruits and vegetables. You can even get sachets to increase your fiber intake. In the UK, and it's probably very similar for Australia, people consume only 5 grams, like up to 5 grams. We're meant to have 25 to 30. So we are disproportionately lower on our fiber intake. And it's all about going slow with fiber. If you make any change in your diet, everybody please go slow, because you don't want to shock your system. And with fiber, it can cause obviously unpleasant side effects in terms of your bowel movement. So increasing your fiber. Second thing is looking at types of fat. So I said this before. In the 70s, the sugar industry really vilified the fat industry. And there was a huge wave. Remember people in their leotards, wow, low-fat diets. So we've come to think of fat as being something really bad for us, but it's really important you have a variety of fats. So olive oil has different, there's 3 main types: monosaturated, polysaturated, and then you get saturated. There's 3 types of fat in a variety of products: margarine, olive oil. So what you want to do is have a variety. The obvious culprits for cholesterol, your double cream, single cream, butter, cheeses. That doesn't mean you shouldn't eat them. It just means that we reduce the amount we eat them.
Awesome. We've got lots of questions, so let's try and get through all these questions. So after Kamal, we had Akal. We've done the intermittent fasting. Does warm water help with losing weight?
Not that I'm...
You know how sometimes they say in the morning, उठ के थोड़ा कोसा पानी पी लो पहला, फिर you flush everything out. Like, is this a myth or is this like real?
There's no scientific evidence behind it, but I think it's quite a nice thing to do. It's comforting. If you put nimble, you've got to be mindful, because a lot of people do the cleanse. So be mindful of the pulp, because its acidity can ruin the enamel on your teeth. So we want to
use a straw.
Yes, use a straw. You
Yeah.
can get or very high grade essential oils, which use the rind. They don't use the acidic part. Yeah, but
Excellent.
it's probably a nice thing to do because, like I said, hunger could also be water, thirst. So warm water is a nice, comforting and probably nice for the body to do. But there's no scientific link. Sorry.
No, that's good. Thanks. We've also got Ganel Singh who's asked, what about Chole Bhature? If raining, pakore, etc. good. That's just comfort food, you know.
Yeah.
Khao, hai na?
Yeah. All my clients eat their chole bhature. We have parathe, we have roti sabji. We eat everything on the spectrum. The key is holy cow. Do it mindfully. Yeah, let's go slowly. Enjoy every bite. Because we have to remember is, in Sikhi, we shouldn't really be greedy. We don't apply it really, do we, to food? But equally, we want to be, some people have hormonal issues and reasons for why they have weight gain. But I'm saying even me, even you, anybody, slow down and really listen, take gaps to if you're full. Then you can still have your chole bhature, have your cake and eat it.
Just one slice, yes.
But also, chade, chole are very, very nutritious. The puriyan or the bhature, they're fried, I know, but that counts for your fat. So if you think it's a balanced meal in its own self, nobody would tell you that, would they? But I think, yeah, if I broke down the composition and you had a small quantity, chole bhature can be a very nutritious meal for you.
Awesome. We've got Gurmeet Kaur who's asked, how can we get kids to eat more veggies when they are picky with food?
Okay, and can I say thank you to all the questions? These are brilliant, and everybody that's online, I really appreciate, I feel the energy. So children, up to 15 times, you have to introduce them to food. And try to avoid using any words like fussy or picky, because later as adults, it sticks. So say that they're very aware of their choices. Try different things: steam, bake, saute, and roast. Yeah, I said bake. Just try different preparation techniques. And the key thing is make it fun. Shall we try this today? Would you like to cook with me? If you try this, you can pick something for me to try. Or engage. Say, you didn't eat that last time. Was there a reason you didn't like it how mummy made it? This is if you can talk to them, obviously. Sometimes you'll find the child didn't like a texture. We're very texture oriented as humans. Some children like crunch. Some children like it to be soft. Experiment, but don't stop trying. And if they don't eat it, we can eat it. Vegetables are good for us.
We've got a new air fryer. And so when we put the veggies in there, it's just like 1 tablespoon of ghee, and it's brilliant because it's like magic, right? Yes. So when you get the kids to eat vegetables, they said, oh, you've got to try one. I was like, okay, I'll try one. And they gave me celery. It was terrible. Well, you have to just.
But I love that you did that.
Eat it, and
yeah,
you have to put it in, and this is really yummy. But you're thinking, this is terrible. This is terrible.
You're a team player, and that's what we want to encourage with our children. They, by the way, experiment. Children are a reflection of their parents. They will adopt eating habits from you. They will adopt body image through you. If you don't have a salad on your plate, if you are rushing in front of them, they will not do the things that you want, the perfect 2.5 beto roti khaye together. They will learn everything from you. So definitely do exactly as Benji suggested. Get involved.
Eat celery.
Yeah. Take
Eat broccoli.
Yeah.
Okay, we got another question. Yep. So what are your thoughts on high-fat diets, keto, for people with high cholesterol, fatty liver, or other cardiac issues?
So I don't believe, so we're the only species that does diets. I don't believe in any one diet. I believe you have to do what fits your life. The problem is if you go high fat, your body's still consuming the fat. You only need up to about 35% of your daily intake from fat. Unless you're very healthy and active, fat is fat. Even if it's good fat, even if it's avocados, even if it's olive oil, you can still consume too much. So for me, in my personal opinion, I got a beep. For me, in my personal opinion, don't go to any extreme. A human diet should actually just be consuming colors of the rainbow, eating seasonal food. And just think, before our fridge was created, what did people used to eat? Oh, I see a good question from Kiran. Do you want to use this one?
Yeah, sure. So
Okay.
is it good to take apple cider vinegar first thing in the morning with warm water to detoxify?
So I have heard that people take these for lowering acidity in the body to increase alkalinity. Again, no scientific backing, but some people some people feel it helps control hunger urges, and it can help you fast. And in that situation, it's not bad. Again, mindful of the enamel on your teeth. Dilute it if you are having it. Be mindful of how much you're having as well. And the other thing is, it's not going to do you damage if you're having it in small quantities. So if it works for you psychologically, why not? The placebo effect works. Yeah, your mind is extremely powerful.
I have the apple cider vinegar as well, and I don't like it with anything else apart from with grapefruit.
Oh, because it probably.
Yeah.
I'm just.
I don't know why, but it just tastes good.
I need to now switch the plug charger on. Sorry.
So many wonderful tips today, isn't it?
Yes. Inhale and have everything, especially Sholipidure, yes.
That was the best. Just when we're talking about apple cider vinegar, I also wanted to ask about green tea. A lot of people especially Punjabi communities, a lot going into that as well. So do you see any health benefits and something that we consume on an everyday basis that can help us in doctor?
Yeah, there are studies to suggest that green tea does help with fat mobilization. It's not something that I learned through my diploma and my studies, but I have seen other research into this. And also, it's like tulsi. I think people have...
Oh, got some connection issues.
Yes. Yeah, could be the battery's down or something. So we'll wait until Ravneet connects back. So probably can we just summarize the things that we have learned today? So starting with, I think, slow eating. That's something really Ravneet mentioned that can help to lose kilos and pounds in the beginning, and that's something we can try. So what are the things we can?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
The whole taking.
How much
20
time have
minutes
you been taking
I
so
don't think
far?
I take
Like how much
20
time
minutes to
usually?
eat.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I take 20 minutes to eat. I think I take less. I think it's
I take 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's very shitty,
We had a power cut. Why is everything malfunctioning today? My children, my power. But I have my phone. Sorry, I apologize. This is such a typical Disney mum life drama. Yes, the tulsi plant, my mum was talking about that in Punjab, often people would have this in their homes, like in the courtyards. So people are making derivatives of the green tea with tulsi. So yeah, green tea has been shown to help, but be mindful it's got caffeine. So I always say to people, be really mindful of caffeine consumption. If you're having green tea plus jar and coffee, it's the body doesn't necessarily like caffeine. It can be a diuretic, so it can dehydrate you.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for that. I think I have all that every day.
That's interesting. Yeah.
We've also
because I know some people who will drink like green tea every night before sleeping, something like that. They say, okay, everything jo ganda khada sara din sara detoxify ho jayega. That's what people think.
It's psychological, Hannah. Again,
it's like no sochue kha ke billi hajnu jalli. It's something like that.
I think Ravneet's.
Eat whatever. Looks like she got disconnected again.
Static. Yeah. We've got another question from Akal Simran Gill, who's asked about the gut health, which
I'm sure I think only Ravneet can answer that. Okay, let's bring her back.
I have no idea.
Okay, so Ravneet, we got another question for you that's on the screen.
Yes.
So Simran is asking how best is it to take care of your gut health, which leads to healthy body, and do we have to make detoxification essential in life?
So we don't have to do detoxification as such, but
There's so much research now on gut bacteria. Don't be overwhelmed by the number of, cleanse your gut, do this. Go slowly. We call it the second nervous system that we have in our gut. Our gut communicates upwards from down up. So hunger, cravings. This is what I was saying about Japani at 3 o'clock. If you do something every day, eat something specific like a chocolate, your gut bacteria will ask for that food every day. So it flourishes. Whatever you eat, you are. And I say to people, you are what you eat. So the colorful fruit and vegetable will help you diversify your gut bacteria. Probiotic drinks, I'm sure it's very similar in Australia and internationally, like lassi. Why do people love lassi? We have live yogurt, and that's got healthy bacteria in there. Equally, you can buy products now like kombucha, you can buy kimchi, you can buy sauerkraut. There's lots of different products we can buy to keep our bacteria healthy. We want variety, so don't buy one product and then just keep eating it. Think about having a variety. And equally, I want people
Yeah, she's still again on our connection. Benji, I can't hear you either.
It's because I'm having to go without power. We've got no Wi-Fi, so it's the mobile network. So go slow with your gut bacteria as well. As we've immigrated, things have changed. If you can stick to as close to the diet as your parents and our ancestors and our grandparents would have eaten, better, win-win.
So we've got one more question. Is yoga good for weight loss and for healthy body?
I'm such a fan of yoga. I started just a few months ago. It depends the type that you do, but my yoga teacher will talk about the nadis, so like our veins, our nerves, and the moves in the way that they're designed to cleanse. Depending how you learn, it can be very gentle, so it's really easy for a beginner to start. And I think it synchronizes really well with a kind of spiritual backgrounds, and where we're originally from. In terms of weight loss, if you pair it with a good diet, it's always about what we eat. 80% of our body shape is based on the consumption, and 20% is around what we do. Yoga is going to really support women's health if you do the moves, because it's all body weight. Really good. I highly recommend it. The mind, body, soul connection as well.
We have one more come through as well.
I think we'll leave that one. That's okay. That's for the langar, and I think the management and the community collectively has to deal with that, about controlling langar and the menu in that one. So we will leave that aside. So thank you, Karnel Singh ji. That was.
I'm a big fan of langar. Yeah.
Yes.
Don't stop the langar.
Yeah, don't stop it. We want all these things. Yes. Now, thank you so much, Ravneet. It's been really fantastic conversation, and I learned a lot today. I'm looking forward to apply slowly. That's the keyword, and make some changes in the life. Just before Ranjeet makes some comments as well, would you be able to just give some brief tips on balancing, like psychology of eating, training the brain, and what we can do? Just some quick tips.
Always remember bad habits, immediate results. So your body will always be drawn to the quickest, easiest thing that feels the best. But your good habits are like a compound interest. You want to thank yourself in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. So it's always being mindful. How is this choice going to support me tomorrow? Simple as that. And slowing down. This is like in life. Trust that God has a path and a plan. You don't need to force the outcomes. You just need to be available to listen to the messages. And you can't do that if you're rushing. So let's slow down and think about what will you thank yourself for in 5 years, not just what feels good right now.
Awesome. So Ravneet, quick one. We've got like literally a minute for you to mention this, but I know you're about to launch something brand new to the audience. And can you just talk about this exciting news? Because I know I've already signed up. So
12 weeks I'm taking. This is the last coaching program for this year. I won't be opening coaching again until next year. 12 weeks to the path of dropping the weight and having the dream body. Like, let's remember this year, not for the pandemic, but for the changes you made to yourself, not just physically, but mentally. So I'm taking women on a life, like, soul nutrition coaching course to drop the weight, but essentially meet a community of women that support you, that will help you achieve the goals that you want, which is physical weight loss, but also mental resilience around food. So you can go to the Gurdwara, eat langar, because you're not going to go over it to the extreme. You can go to parties. It's all about making you bulletproof around food so that you're in control. At the moment, people don't feel in control. They feel their cravings control them. The marketing, the advertising, it's not your fault. You're not alone, but we can undo that by making it very objective. And equally, I'm going to be opening up booking slots for international time zones as well. So I'm still available to take calls with people from abroad. So I have that availability. It's not just UK based. I do everything remotely like this with much better technology than I've had to do today. So apologies to everybody for the interruption through my IT. Thank you for my two sisters for being so patient and forgiving and having me here with all the questions. Just so much thanks to everybody.
no, that's really good, because you also mentioned how the audience can get in touch with you if they want to or are interested in finding out more about your coaching.
So I have my email, which is rav@neatnutrition.co.uk. I have my Instagram page. I also am on Facebook. I reply to everybody myself personally, and I get back to people really quickly. Even if you don't want to work with me, you just want some one-off advice, like, don't be afraid to get in touch. I'll be more than happy to support you.
So your handle on Instagram is at Neat Nutrition.
Yeah,
and
at
then on
neat,
Facebook,
NEET_nutrition. And the same on Facebook at Neat Nutrition Coach.
It's awesome.
Thank you so much.
I've learned so much already on this one session. Ben, did you have any last words? Otherwise,
No, thank you. Thank you so much, Ravneet. It was a really fantastic session. I think we have talked about food and, psychology in the past as well, spoken to dietitian as well, but there were definitely a few new things we heard from you, and I'm looking forward to apply that. And I hope our audience have actually also, they were already paying thanks and they found it informative as well. So I still had so many questions, but I think let's go on the slow pace and just apply what we have learned today. And yes, I'll try to get in touch with you later on with some more questions. But thank you so much for today's session. That meant a lot.
Thank you.
yeah, no, it's been really good. And if you feel in a rut with your diet or need guidance with your health, please kindly get in touch with Ravneet Kaur. You can clearly see how approachable she is, how professional and knowledgeable as well. So we would like to thank Ravneet today for your amazing energy, time, and sharing your expertise. We've learned so much, and I'm sure the viewers have as well. Is there any last comments you want to make, Ravneet, before we leave?
No, just so much thanks to everybody. I think you are doing such a great thing for our community.
No, that's fine. So thanks all for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week. If you've got any comments or specific topic that you would like us to cover, please send us an email to hello@thecourshow.com. And if you want to see any of our previous shows, please visit our website, thecourshow.com. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.